Never going in a haunted house ever again. Nope, not happening. What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about the brand new film Haunt. Now, where can you watch Haunt? It did release in very limited theaters, but it also came out on VOD, video on demand. So if you guys get the opportunity, I encourage you to check it out so you can follow along with this review. And if you haven't seen it, well then hopefully you'll look forward to it after this. Let's talk about it. So on Halloween, a group of friends encounter an extreme haunted house that promises to feed on their darkest fears. The night turns deadly as they come to the horrifying realization that some nightmares are real. This film was directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods and produced by Eli Roth. That's really the big name. He's known well for his horror regardless of if you love it or hate it. He is a big name in the horror community, so I was excited to see what route this movie was going to go down. And I'm not going to lie to you, when I saw the premise and I saw the poster and I read what this film was going to be about, I was a bit worried because this could have easily been one of two things. One, it could have been a bit of a surprise. It's like, all right, Haunt ended up being better than I thought it was going to be. Or two, it could have been one of those cliched, conventional, studio-esque horror films. I'm not going to say a studio horror film because this is a very low-budget movie. You can tell at times to the detriment of the story, but it was going to be one of those two things. And thankfully, it was the better option. It actually ended up surprising me because they took advantage of the fact that they were a low-budget horror movie. They kept the premise simple, and they executed on everything they frankly needed to execute on to provide for an entertaining and even a moderately scary movie. It's pretty easy to do when you're dealing with a haunted house situation, and I've wanted multiple movies to do this over just this year alone, right? Take advantage of the fact that you have characters in a situation that they have to climb their way out of in the same vein of a haunted house. Well, with this movie, they're actually in that situation. They're in the haunted house. They have to find their way out, and every little thing, every obstacle that they encounter is executed in such a way that provides some scares. And listen, I'm not a guy that's going to sit and scream and twist and squirm during a horror movie. Even the scariest of horror films, they don't really get me. Jump scares, they rarely work. And I'm not saying the jump scares in this movie worked, but it's that realism of the situation. Not that what happens in this movie is realistic, but the idea of being stuck in a haunted house. I mean, we all kind of have that fear when we go into a haunted house on Halloween. One of my favorite things to do, by the way. I absolutely love everything about it. The thrill, the rush. Don't really get scared because you know it's fake, right? But what if it wasn't fake? What if what happens in the haunted house is real? And that's what these characters have to face in this movie. And that's really what works so well because they don't try to push it. They don't bring in all of these extra characters and subplots. They establish who this group is in the beginning. You have Harper, you have Nathan. I didn't even have to look at those names because I actually remembered the characters. When you can remember the characters in a horror movie, a lot of the times, that's because they did something to make those characters memorable. Now, I'm not saying everyone in this movie is the most memorable character in the world because they do kind of fit in their generic character trope. Like you have the one that texts too much, you have the one who talks too much, you have the one who's a bit overly aggressive. That's fine. It's going to work for the premise if you execute it properly. Now, our lead in Harper, played by Katie Stevens, she's really good, man. She is really good. And the movie starts doing something at a point, and I'm sitting back going, I don't know if I like what you're doing here. You're trying to give us a backstory for the lead character, but they're going about it in such a way that could come across as generic, cliche, something we've seen before. And it was something we've seen before, but I started to care a bit more. What they were doing was starting to work on me, and the simple premise, the simplistic nature of the movie as a whole works to perfection because it doesn't feel like it's going on too long. It's entertaining because they have to go to each individual stage or, well, at a point, move back through the stages that they came through in the first place. And I like what this movie does, right? They keep teasing you that they're going to scare you to death in this scene, give you that gore that you've been wanting throughout the entire movie. Finally, nope, not here. Finally, no, not here. They require the audience to be a bit patient. Sometimes your patience may run thin, but with this film, you're so intrigued about what the heck is going to happen next. What is in store for us at this point of the haunted house? Because it's an extremely complex haunted house. I also also liked the set design of each individual situation that our characters, whether they're split up or together, gets themselves in. I like the look of the movie for something so low budget. You could still tell, and there were moments that I wasn't the biggest fan of, and of course certain character decisions, especially towards the end, it's like, all right, you did this, but you could have went back and did that and maybe saved yourself in the process. All right, they fit into their tropes, and I just want to throw out there that this writer-director duo, they're actually co-writers on one of my favorite movies from last year, A Quiet Place, so you know they were going to bring it to a movie that ends up executing, and what can I say? I found Haunt to be significantly more entertaining than I thought it was going to be, and it's one of those movies that I would say, hey, when it comes Halloween time, pop this sucker in. It's not the most well-made thing I've seen all year. It's not exquisite filmmaking, but it's fun, and it does exactly what it sets out to do with a low budget, with a cast that works pretty well, and overall, I enjoyed Haunt. I'm gonna go 70%, actually a bit above what I was planning. The more I talk about it, the more I appreciate what this thing was trying to do. It really harkens back to the scary Halloween movies of old, and it gives you the vibes that you used to get from movies like this that just had fun with themselves and had fun with the premise, and because of that, I enjoyed what this movie did, and I would probably watch it again. So what did you guys think of Haunt? Now, of course, there are going to be those who find this just too on the nose, too cliche, and hey, I get it. Cliches in the movie for sure. Certain characters don't work, but Haunt was a surprise for me, and I really hope it is for you guys too. Thank you so much for watching this video. More things to come this week. A lot of videos dropping. And hey, we have a podcast on YouTube, youtube.com/filmstrippers, myself and 3C Films. We're always talking movies and TV shows and streaming things, and we're having a great time on that channel. Please go check us out. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you soon.